Hello and welcome to the new TPN webinar studio. My name is Peter Menon and I'm the head of legal at TPN. I'm with Silner Stein, the managing director of SSLR Incorporated, the leading eviction law firm in South Africa, as well as the drafting attorneys of the TPN residential lease pack. And yes, I may say so, fantastic news, the new drafting attorneys of the TPN sales pack as well. Silna, about 3 or 4 months ago, we had a discussion regarding the lease agreement changes that we're going to make in this new release, specifically relating to a rental housing tribunal matter in which the tenant cancelled the lease agreement early prior to taking occupation, but after the lease agreement was signed. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so that was such an interesting case. It was a lease agreement already signed between the landlord and the tenant. So just to give some characters, obviously fictional characters. So let's call the tenant Tannie Annette. So Tannie Annette already signed the lease agreement with the landlord, and prior to taking occupation, she just randomly informed the landlord's agent that she will no longer be taking occupation of the premises. So the landlord obviously suffered damages as a result of Tannie Annette's failure to take occupation. He went to the tribunal and the commissioner held that he can't award damages to the landlord because, in his opinion, the lease agreement hasn't started yet, hasn't commenced yet, wasn't effective yet. And repudiation can obviously only happen when an agreement is already effective. And for that reason, the landlord wasn't awarded a damages claim.
If you don't mind, can we just pause there a little bit just to explain certain of the terms that we've just used for our viewers,
Yes.
specifically relating to the signature date. What is the signature date of the contract?
So the signature date will sometimes be defined in lease agreements. This is the date usually on which the last party signs the agreement. So why this is a potential problem is, say for instance, the landlord lives abroad. Tenant signs the agreement and everybody is happy, but the landlord hasn't signed the agreement yet. This effectively changes the date on which the lease agreement commences. Because if your commencement date is your signature date, and your signature date is the date on which the last party signs the agreement, it could mean that the start or commencement of the agreement is based on the actions of one of the parties.
And so with the amendments that we've just made, we've included the term an effective date into the definitions. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so the reason why we've done this is we decided to make it safe for a landlord to know on this date the agreement will come into life, will come into being. We've decided to rather allow a specific date on which the agreement will commence, regardless of the date on which the party signs the agreement. So as soon as the parties then agree to the terms of the agreement, on the effective date that the parties then elect, the agreement will come into being, and all parties are then allowed to perform, but can also be demanded to perform. So in the case of Tannie Annette, the landlord would have been in a position to claim damages from Tannie Annette even prior to her taking occupation of the premises.
So just to paraphrase a little bit for our viewers out there, in short, this simple change to our TPN lease agreements, just by adding the effective date, makes the person or the tenant bound to the lease agreement even prior to the occupation date.
Yes,
That's
exactly
wonderful.
that.
Great. Speaking about other dates, a termination date of the contract comes up quite a lot, specifically when you're dealing with the Consumer Protection Act, when you're dealing with 40 to 80 business days notice. I know we also made a change to one of the termination clauses in the contract itself. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yes, so in terms of the provisions of the Consumer Protection Act, we need to, the landlord has to give notice to the tenant 40 to 80 business days prior to the impending termination date of potential changes to the terms of the agreement the landlord wants, or he has to inform the tenant that he wants to terminate the agreement, or he wants to ask the tenant if he wants to continue with this lease agreement, either by signing a new lease agreement or by signing a renewal addendum. So what we've changed is we have now inserted a provision where we compel the tenant to inform the landlord of his decision to continue with the lease agreement, either by signing an addendum or a new lease agreement, within 30 business days prior to the impending termination date.
And the previous date was 10 business days.
Yes.
So we've just made the time period longer before the termination date of the contracts for the parties to reach agreement, in essence, so that landlord's not out of pocket if they don't reach agreement.
Exactly. So it gives the landlord more time to know what the position is with this particular tenant, whether he's going to be staying on, or if the landlord has to find a new tenant. And if that's the case, now the landlord has 30 business days to market the property and find a new tenant.
For all of you wanting to purchase the TPN residential lease pack, the link to the TPN shop is listed here under. For all the 4,000 landlords and estate agents all across the country currently subscribed to the TPN lease pack, just click on the same link to download your latest version. Thank you so much. See you soon.